Hey y'all, hi! It's time for another video about new makeup releases. As always, I'm just going to be talking about the things that interest me. So I've gone through Trend Mood and pulled up a bunch of tabs, but either it's been so long since I did this, which I don't actually think is the case, or there's just like a bunch of kind of interesting stuff on the market, maybe because of holiday, maybe it's just a coincidence. For whatever reason, I have pulled up like 3 times as many tabs as I usually do. So to prevent this video from being like just exhaustively long, like an hour and a half long, which would be a bit much for you guys and also a bit much for me to edit, I'm gonna try to be a little more concise than usual. Wish me luck. We all know how that goes. I can hear you through the screen being like, Hannah Louise Poston, a bit more concise than usual. LOL, good luck with that, and thank you. Thank you for wishing me luck. If this is your first time to my channel, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for clicking on this video, even though you didn't know who I was. I am Hannah. I love beautiful things, but I'm not over here trying to overspend, and I'm also not over here trying to promote overspending. So I have a beauty channel. I also talk about fashion, love makeup, love clothes, but I'm trying to keep balance. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. The other thing is, I'm on a no-buy. I mean, I'm calling it that, but it's like a passive no-buy. It's a tacit no-buy because I gave myself a set amount of money at the beginning of the year to spend on beautiful things and extras, and I've spent it all, but the year is not over yet. So I can't buy any more beautiful things and extras for myself until January when my budget renews. So that means that when I'm looking at these things, it's like, yeah, I'm telling my feelings. It's not a will I buy it. And that's part of why I call this series New Makeup Releases and All My Feelings, because I go through phases when I can't do a will I buy it because I can't buy things. Although I guess I could buy things in January. I mean, I could like buy some of this stuff after my no buy. It's always kind of a will I buy it, you know, because that's like kind of what I'm talking about. And also there is one thing that I'm going to talk about that I decided to review. My YouTube channel has a budget, so sometimes I'll buy something just for review, and I'll talk about that when I get to it. But I wanted to put that out here because not only am I kind of on a no buy, I mean, I'm definitely not buying stuff anymore with my budget, but also this is what I've been wearing lately. No eye makeup except for mascara and kind of like a strong grungy lip, and then a really glossy, sheeny, flushed cheek using the Cosmetics Serum Color Drop Serum Blushes. This is me now, basically, and soap in my brows. So because I'm going through this kind of like more minimal and less experimental makeup time in my life personally, just because there's so much going on, and you know, it's like the pandemic and the quarantine and the election and like all of this stuff has been getting in amongst me, and so I've just been kind of slapping it on, if that. All of that is to say that I feel particularly resistant to new releases right now. I don't mean resistant like I'm stubborn, like a horse is resistant to leave its stable when it doesn't want to go out. I mean, like, I feel like I have like a invincibility power like in Super Mario, and I got one of those rainbow stars and I'm like, that's me rolling through the holiday releases into the end of the year. Okay, in no particular order, the first thing is actually something very new because I've been like pulling up tabs here and there, and this is just the last one I happened to pull up, and it's from today. Oh, and I'm trying to be concise, and I've failed and I haven't even started talking about the makeup. Wet n Wild, it looks like ColourPop, and I feel like for Wet n Wild, that's a step up in the world for their packaging. The packaging looks beautiful, and can we all just hope in one giant group and hope that that hope will cause this to happen, that in rejuvenating their packaging, they've done away with the fact that the little stickers can never be entirely peeled off of their eyeshadow palettes. I feel like if they're gonna up their packaging game like this, they're gonna have to do something about those stickers, because otherwise just like, Wet n Wild, what are you even doing with your life? Obviously, I'm not gonna buy this. That's gonna be true for everything here, pretty much, I think. But it just looks beautiful. The little palettes, they look beautiful, did a good job. I wish that these glitters were biodegradable. That would really put the butter on the spinach. But, you know, overall, it's like ColourPop is that you. And I feel like that's good. Also, the lip scrub sticks, that grosses me out a little bit. I mean, it doesn't gross me out like I'm like, eh. It's just, that doesn't appeal to me personally. The thing that impresses me here is the job that they did with the eyeshadow palettes and the little blush glitter cheek duo things. Good job, Wet n Wild, good job. Okay, a new brand that don't know anything about it, and I just am looking at it and have feelings, so I'm gonna tell you. Vive Beauty, created by Jamie Genevieve, who I don't follow and I've never heard of her before. It's just so interesting, okay? Because I look at this and I'm like, the eyeshadow palette looks like it was made by AB. On the cover, it looks like it was Pat McGrath inspired because it's like that black with a little decal, like a little brass plate or gold plate that's engraved. That's very PMG. So the cover looks Pat McGrath inspired. The interior looks like it was made by ABH. I mean, it really looks, it even looks like it's kind of reminiscent to me of the soft glam palette, I feel. The cheek powders, the highlighters, they give me Victoria Beckham vibes, and there's like a big V on them. I mean, it's not like they look exactly like anything from Victoria Beckham, but at a glance, I was like, Victoria Beckham, is that you? And then the lip pencils also give me Victoria Beckham vibes, the way that they're photographed and the colors. And then the lipsticks, this is the most obvious one of all, they look like Tom Ford. I mean, that packaging is like swiped from Tom Ford. I was like, Tom Ford, is that you? So it's this weird, like jumbled conglomeration of all of these references to other brands' packaging. And overall, the impression is of something that I would probably really like, especially the colors. I mean, the lip colors, it's like 5 lipsticks. I'll show the picture. 5 lip colors, and every single one of them is like a color that I like. It's like from light to dark, the color that I like in every shade range and every like lightness level or darkness level. This is the color of nude that I like. So, you know, we're very in line with each other in terms of like what we're into, Vive and I. And I even like, I mean, I'm not out here buying eyeshadow palettes, especially not ones that have this like incredibly basic, warm-toned glam color scheme, which is just like I could make the looks that I'd be making with this palette 1,000 times over with different combinations of other shadows that I already own. So I'm not like wanting to buy the palette, but I would love to put together a little palette of singles of my own that make this color story and to make looks out of it. Like these are the kinds of looks that I like when I'm doing eyeshadow looks. And the lip liners also, I've been really into lip liner lately. All I'm wearing today on my lips is that Juvia's Place lip liner in Sweet Nothing, I think, all over. And I've been really into overlining my lips lately. So this just appeals to me a lot. I think it's very beautiful. I think she did a great job. I'm not gonna buy it, but I'm kind of following the future career with great interest. But I'm also kind of like, why did you make lipsticks that look exactly like iconic Tom Ford lipsticks? Like, why not just do a little bit more to set your brand apart? So those are all of my feelings. Moving on, Concision. Okay, ColourPop X Raw Beauty Kristi. I'm so happy to see this. I just feel like this is something that for years people have been like, wouldn't it be great if ColourPop would get it together, scrape it together to do what they should have been doing this whole time and collab with Raw Beauty Kristi. And they finally did it, and they did a really beautiful job. It's just absolutely lovely. I mean, come on, like perfect in every way for Kristi, a great fit for ColourPop. The packaging is very beautiful. Again, I'm on a no buy. I'm not buying stuff, not really buying palettes right now, but from afar, I can strongly appreciate it and be like, it's very, very beautiful, and be excited for Kristi and just be glad that something so elegant and genuine and, you know, rooted in the natural world and sort of like blessedly like above and to the side of the mess that's going on, not just in the world, but like in the makeup world, like all the drama, all the meanness and all of the like cut crease and like fierce and like cut a bitch and like slicey dicey. Like it seems like so often when there's a collab in the makeup world, it's got this like kind of edge of like too cool for you, you can't sit with us, like just like this edge that's a little bit owie to it. And then that also makes it feel for me personally a little bit young because I'm like 35 going on 36. And this just feels like the opposite of that. It's like generous, relaxed, open, sweet, a little bit silly, just really versatile and something that I think a lot of people can appreciate. It's friendly. It's welcoming, and I like to see things like that. Wayne Goss Holiday Palette. I think this is very beautiful. When I first looked at it, I was like, why are there 2 matte grays that are exactly the same? And then I looked closer at the pictures and I thought about my own experience with gray shadows, and I remembered that when I'm making a gray toned look or a look that makes use of gray, a very, very pale, warm toned gray functions really differently on the eye than a deeper, cool toned, almost seal gray, that's what the two grays are that are in this palette. I just think it's a very beautiful object. Good curation, good decision. I don't think that Wayne with this release quite has his finger on the pulse. I mean, it's very like Chanel holiday. I'm not saying it compares exactly to this year's Chanel holiday releases. I'm just saying it's the kind of thing that high-end brands, like designer brands like Chanel makeup and Dior makeup will do. They'll sort of just like ignore trends and come out with something really classically smoky holiday. Like you're gonna see somebody wearing this palette with some kind of like taffeta bow in a catalog sitting next to a fireplace. And trends come and go, but it seems like every year there's this little cohort of people who are holding fast to this idea of holiday as being super classic, kind of like a 1980s catalog, American Girl catalog. I don't know. Wait, I think American Girls were after 1980s, but you know what I'm saying? It's like it's really, really classic. It's really beautiful. I am attracted to it for that reason. I'm not necessarily a slave to trends in terms of what I'm attracted to. So if I were spending right now buying stuff, I didn't have very much eyeshadow, I could totally see this being on my list. I just think it's really beautiful, but I think that there's something a little bit missing in terms of its grippiness. And that is how I've been feeling about Wayne Goss's releases. I felt like the lipstick and lip liner, like I think that was his first release, in lip gloss, I felt like that was quite on, finger on the pulse type thing. Like people were really into it for a whole spectrum of reasons. And then his releases since then, I've kind of been feeling like beautifully done, a thing unto itself, but just not quite the thing that's going to get a lot of people to dig into their pockets and pull out their spending money right now. This, on the other hand, I feel actually the complete opposite about. I don't always talk about Huda because it's a little bit like wah wah for me most of the time with what that brand is doing. I find this to be very, very beautiful. It wouldn't be a smart buy for me because there's not enough depth in it. It's all very kind of light and floaty and gold and shimmery. There's that one deepening shade, but you can't tell from the pictures whether it would work to really deepen up an outer corner, because that kind of like soft brownish burgundy can often just buff out to like a mid-tone, something that's like a crease color. So I'm not saying that this is on my list or something. It's just, look at it though. It's so beautiful. It's got that texture. It's really exciting. It feels holiday, but it feels more updated. Like it doesn't have that classic old world glamour holiday thing with the blue shiny or blue glitter that was going on in the Wayne Goss palette. It feels like a fresh, updated, like a 2020 holiday palette. And it's got this like amazing packaging and texture, and it's one of her teeny tiny palettes, so it's only $20. So I just feel like it's interesting that they came up back to back, because there are two very different examples of like an approach to holiday, and I feel like this is probably the most successful one, the more successful one commercially. Personally, if you're going to give me one, I'd probably take the Wayne Goss, because it's got more depth, it's got that black in it, and it's grungier, grittier. But I kind of think that Huda did a better job at the brief. Okay, here's the thing I'm going to review. This is it. I already purchased 2 of these, and I'm going to do like a really up close swatching, examining, figuring out what the butt is going on with this 3-dimensional cream blush rose that Winky Lux came out with. And I've never even like looked twice at Winky Lux. I've never had an interest. I don't even really know anything about Winky Lux. I'm just not a Winky Lux bee over here. But I am a 3-dimensional cream blush rose bee. And I was like, yeah, I'm reviewing this. A bunch of you tagged me in it, so thank you for that, because you know that this is, it's a good fit for a review on my channel, because I personally have so many cream blushes that if I didn't have a YouTube channel, even though I love cream blush and even though this is intriguing, I would never have purchased this, even if I still had budget. I would not be out there buying cream blush at this point. But because I do love cream blush so much and I know so much about it, you know what I mean? I have relative breadth of knowledge about the cream blushes that are on the market because I've tried a bunch of them this year. I'll be able to tell you whether, and I feel like this is the big question for the review, whether their determination to execute this phenomenal construction project of like building like a 3-dimensional thing out of a cream cheek product, whether their attempt to do that compromised the quality of the actual product and the way that it performs on the cheeks. So the review is coming. Can you even? Like, look at them. I mean, okay, here's something that in the abstract is very boring, but that I just was compelled to include because I think it's very, very beautiful. It's the one of the Viseart little teeny tiny. They came out with quads, and this one it's so beautiful. I mean, it's very beige. It reminds me of like a monochromatic outfit. You know, sometimes I'll wear like a chunky sweater like this, like a whitish, beigeish, icy sweater on top and like white pants on the bottom, or beige, beige on beige on beige. That's a look I love. I love it for makeup. I love it for clothes. I love looking at this beautiful picture with the different textures of beige, but this just isn't something one needs to buy. You know, it is something that one can appreciate the pictures of. Although if I didn't have any makeup, or if I had, you know, if I was just not a makeup person and I had one quad of varying shades of beige and I had used it all up and I was like, this holiday season, I'm gonna buy another beige quad. This would be a great one. Ooh, look at this preview of a new brand, the Jason Wu makeup brand that's going to release in Target. This should tell you how far back I went on Trend Mood if you follow it closely, because this was like weeks ago, I think, that this posted. It says it's not going to be available until January 17th. Depending on what releases between now and then, this is something that is a candidate for review for me as well, because again, it's like a cream cheek multi-purpose thing. And I'm really interested in multi-stick products, but I find that they can be really difficult to get right, because a lot of times if something's correct for the cheeks, if it's like the right consistency for the cheeks, it'll be dry on the lips. And when something's good on the lips, it'll be like too emollient for the cheeks. It can be done. I mean, you can get something like for example, the e.l.f. workout palette, what is that e.l.f. palette called? You know what I'm talking about, the cream cheek palette. It can be done, but the question's going to be, did Jason Wu do it? So on Trend Mood, it says, the first launch will include 25 products for eyes, lips, cheeks, and brows. I wonder if that means 25 different like types of product, and then there will be a color range within each one, or if it means 21, probably 25 individual products. It probably means 25 types of product, like a ton of makeup. Probably means a ton of makeup. But it says the hero product is the Honey Fluff Fluffy matte lipstick in different nude shades and formulated to be used on the lips, cheeks, or lids. So they are saying that the hero product is a lipstick, but that's actually a multi-stick, and it's only $12. And this packaging is so beautiful. I love this. I love that this kind of like high-end feeling, high design, monochromatic-ish packaging, soft touch packaging, and like beautiful nudie colors, or like the color of the product is the color of the packaging, this type of thing. I love that that's starting to make its way into affordable brands. And yeah, I'll definitely be following the future career of this Jason Wu makeup line with great interest. Okay, so in a similar vein, e.l.f. has come out with a putty blush in a pot. And a lot of you guys tagged me in this too, because I recently reviewed some e.l.f. cream products and I fell completely in love with the e.l.f. Workout Ready Active Lip and Cheek Palette. That is a product of pressed creams that work beautifully for the lips and the cheeks. They're dry enough for the cheeks, but emollient enough for the lips. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm mildly curious about this, because it's like, is it that same formula? Did they just press one of their cream cheek product formulas into these little pots and call it a putty? Or is it more of a putty, which if it is more of a putty, then I'm not as much of a fan because I really like the other one. But curiously, it's so interesting. Like a lot of you were like, oh, Hannah's really into this e.l.f. cream stuff right now. I bet she's going to be really into this. And what's actually going on for me over here is I look at this and I'm like, well, interesting, but I already have the one that I already have this great e.l.f. lip and cheek palette. Nothing could possibly be better. And I even like the colors in the palette better than I like the colors that they have on offer for this putty blush. So yeah, it's the kind of thing that maybe, given that I have a makeup YouTube channel, if I weren't staying home all the time because of COVID, if I were like out in drugstores and looking and browsing, if I were to see this in store, I could totally see myself buying one just for the purposes of reporting back to you about it on my channel. But I don't feel some type of way about it that's going to lead me to like buy it online and have it shipped to my house. So it's probably just going to pass us all by. All right. The Trichrome, let's talk about it. The Triceratops palette, as Teresa says. The Natasha Denona Triochrome, not Trichrome, Triochrome, because it's like 3 multi-chrome palette, whatever, Natasha, it's fine. Yeah, it's like, it's really pretty, but it's like mostly matte. So here's, after watching like everybody, all my friends review this palette, here's my assessment of it. It's a matte palette with 3 lackluster multichromes in it. And I'm just not about that life. I have some gorgeous multichromes, but to be honest, the Cliona shadows that I have, which, you know, Cliona is like this indie brand that makes the best multichromes, totally amazing. And I have like 14 of them. I have a little palette of them. Most of the ones that I have are the glitter multichromes, which are less intense in terms of their shift, but more sparkly, more textured. And those are the Cliona shadows that I really love. And the kind of multichromes that Natasha Denona has put in this palette are the ones that I think are more comparable to the jeweled multichromes from Cliona. They have a black base, they're really intense, and the shift is really intense. But these don't perform as well as the jeweled multichromes from Cliona. And so I just have no desire for 3 multichromes from Natasha Denona that are similar to the kind from Cliona that I like less and aren't even as good as those. And then a bunch of matte shadows in the palette as well for over $100. So for all of those reasons, I have no personal interest in buying this palette or even receiving it as a gift. Like, I'm not going to put it on my Christmas wish list or anything like that. I don't want it. But the color story is great, I think. I really, really like it. I like this grungy green top row, like beautiful. I love that green top row. That green top row makes me want to make a little palette out of my own shadows using some Cliona shadows and some other mattes that I have and make looks with it. I love the middle row too, the purple one with the purple shifting shadow. And I love the bottom row too. I just think it's really, the whole thing is really, really beautiful. It's just, I just don't want this actual palette. I just like the way that the colors have come together. Milani, everyone's coming out with cream cheeks. It's like they all got the memo. Everyone's like, Louise Poston bought 5 cream cheeks in January. We better come out with our own cream cheeks this year at some point. That's what Milani did. And yeah, look at them. Look at this one. There's one called Nude something. Nude Kiss. All the brands should hire me to come up with names. I feel like I could do so much better. I mean, there are, I feel like, just a few brands that have good names for things, and then it's just like they don't have any poets on their staff or something at Milani. Like, what's that about? I feel like rather than Nude Kiss, a better name for this would be Ashes of Roses. Or what about Desdemona? Anyway, super boring and predictable blush names aside, very curious about this. I'll be keeping my eye out for what people say if anyone reviews this. And this is another one where, like, if I were going to be physically in drugstores and if I saw it, I might buy it for review. But I think that reviewing the Winky Lux cream blushes will kind of like be a better service than this because they're so unusual and interesting looking. But yeah, let me know what you think. If I ever do another drugstore haul review thing, then I'll include these, or I'll include one of them. I'll include Desdemona. Okay, ColourPop has released like a bunch of stuff since I last filmed one of these, and I did pepper them throughout this video, but as you already saw, like we already talked about the Raw Beauty Christie one, they're not grouped together. So here's another one. It's like a Morphe palette. Like ColourPop released a Morphe palette. It looks beautiful. I love these kinds of like neutral, cool toned colors, but I just can't for the life of me tell you without looking it up what the difference is between this one and the most recent Morphe palette that ColourPop released. Like, I just feel like it was just, didn't they already release a nude? Was it just more warm toned than this? Because I feel like it looked just like this. I would only buy this if I was completely starting from scratch with my entire makeup collection and I wanted to get a head start with single shadows and a formula that I like that are like on the cool toned neutral side. This would be a great way to kick off a collection. Just get this, depot all the shadows, put them in a magnetic palette, and then like build from there. You've got a lot of your bases covered. But as someone who already has eyeshadow, you know, it's not even about the fact that I don't have a budget anymore. I put this Kylie stuff in here because I've been watching other people's new makeup releases videos and everyone seems to have an opinion about this leopard collection from Kylie Jenner. I'm not over here buying Kylie makeup. Like, I've never bought any. I have from time to time appreciated the palettes. I actually think that color-wise, she does an increasingly good job. So the palette's pretty appealing in like a basic way. And the colors of the lip products in this release are particularly appealing. But, you know, that door is closed. That membrane is intact. I have no interest in buying this. But I do really like the packaging. I feel like I I can like things that aren't my exact own aesthetic. Like, I feel like I have a more malleable like appreciation for when something is well executed that goes beyond my own personal aesthetic. So the Jason Wu things that we were looking at before, those like matte monochromatic stick things, I really think that that's beautiful. It's well executed and it's also very much my aesthetic. Like if I were coming out with makeup, if I were coming up with makeup, I could see myself exploring that direction for my own packaging. If I were coming out with my own makeup, I would not explore this Kylie Jenner leopard, leopard bodysuit, cowboy hat night, like, it's like a glamour photograph, a vintage glamour photograph type of aesthetic. I would probably not be exploring this for my own packaging because it's not quite my full and complete jam. But I think that the execution is really flawless. It's like just cheapy peepy feeling enough. It's like just tacky enough. The way that they did like the dark brown sparkly Kylie name, it could have gone very, very wrong in so many directions and just not quite held together and made the statement. And I just feel like it did hold together. The graphic designer did a really good job, the aesthetic designer of this collection. And so because it's well executed, it appeals to me and I wanted to give it kudos, even though it isn't the choice that I would make if I were making my own packaging. That's the only reason that I want to talk about the Kylie collection. Moving on. M Cosmetics launched a Daydream Cushion Foundation. I mean, they launched a cushion foundation. They called it the Daydream Cushion. The Daydream Cushion. And they're sending it to me. So I'm going to be able to review this. Stay tuned. I don't know when it's going to get here, but it's on its way. I was initially quite excited when I saw this, and then I saw that it has chemical sunscreen. I'm glad that it has a sunscreen in it, but it's a little bit of a bummer that it has a chemical sunscreen because I don't tend to want to put chemical screens on my skin, but I'll still review it. And I don't know, maybe it'll be so extraordinary that I'll, break my usual rule of not using products with chemical screens in them. But yeah, I mean, follow my future career with great interest because I'm going to be reviewing this product. The pictures look beautiful and the description, everything about it, it looks like something that I might really, really like. And I'm also really curious to know if the lightest shade is actually light enough for me. Oh, this kind of got me in like the old school feels about holiday and like Sephora. So this is the Fenty set. It has so much going for it. So it is, well, I was about to say that it's a really good price, but I didn't remember the price and I just looked it up and it's actually not super inexpensive. It's $42 for this set. And I believe they're all minis. No, so it's a full-size gloss bomb and a full-size cheek cheek blush, a full-size cheek blush, a full-size cream blush, and a mini of the Diamond Veil. And I just feel like they nailed that because, what you want if you're going to have full-size, mini, and full-size, it's the highlighter that you want to have as the mini, and you want the full-size cream cheek and you want the full-size lip gloss. So yeah, $42 for two full-size Fenty products. That is a pretty good price. If it's the kind of thing that you would like be buying throughout the year or be buying for gifts or something. So I do think that it's priced pretty well. So there's that going for it. There's also a new color of the cream cheek. And I reviewed these cream cheeks. I reviewed them when they first came out and I ended up giving them away. Not because I didn't like them. I did. I thought that they were really beautiful, but just because I have so many cream cheek products. And so I ended up mailing them to Angie. This looks like it's a better color for me than any of the colors in the original line. So that really allures me. And I also really like the Diamond Veil, and this looks like a really beautiful color. It's the kind of thing that if I had never changed my ways, if I'd never done a no-buy year, and if I still kind of just like flooded myself to Sephora every holiday season and voraciously overspent and went into credit card debt, buying all the little treats and being like, ooh, this is just for me. Like if I was still that person, I would have already bought this and I would be so excited about it because I would feel like I was getting a really good deal. I'd feel like it was made just for me because of that new color of the blush and the new color of the Diamond Balm. And so I just think that they made a really good bid for people's money and attention with this, kind of knocked it out of the park in all of those ways. Of course, that doesn't mean that I myself am actually going to buy it. I just think that they did a better job than a lot of brands are doing at figuring out what it is they needed to release in holiday in terms of like refashioning and repackaging their own stuff that's kind of old news, or like remaking it or coming up with a new color or whatever. They kind of did the best job of that. ColourPop, when did this even happen? Like I was like back in the annals of trend mood, and I was like, this completely passed me by. This Snake Eyes collection, I love it. I love the snake packaging. I love that they took one of their most iconic single shadows, Snake Eyes, which is like a taupe that has a flip, and made a whole collection around it. I think that's a really good idea for ColourPop. I'd like to see them do more of that. Like, I'd like to see them do kind of what Charlotte Tilbury won't stop doing for Pillow Talk for some of their iconic colors. Not exhaustively in the way that Charlotte Tilbury's doing, like, just one collection and then give it a rest, which I think they're capable of. But I just think that that's cool. I like that. I like digging into those things instead of constantly trying to reinvent the wheel, if that makes sense. It's like I feel like they could get a lot of mileage out of digging deeper into what they already have and kind of doing variations on a theme. So I like seeing ColourPop do this. Obviously not going to buy it, but it does really appeal to me. I do. I love a good taupe. I love a taupe. And I love a little snake eye. Ooh, I'm just putting this up because it's so pretty. And do you remember Lost Cherry from, I guess, last year, maybe the year before? That was also in this kind of like faded monochromatic, and it looked like a red elixir in it. And this is the same bitter peach. Tom Ford just does such a good job at stuff. I understand why people get to the point with it where they're willing to spend the whatever, like $350 that this costs. Yeah, that's what it is. And I bet it smells so good. But just, man, I mean, obviously it's not on the table for me. It's just let's just have a moment. We appreciate bitter peach. We love beautiful things. It's so beautiful. Okay, so kimchi. I want to talk about kimchi makeup because I feel like her plan, like Kim Chi's plans for how it would go with the brand, it's taken everyone kind of a while to cotton on. I think a lot of drag queens and other celebrities come out with little makeup lines here and there, and they'll just release like one little thing. Like Trixie, for example, Trixie makeup or Trixie Mattel makeup, she'll have like this one lipstick, and then like 6 months later, like a palette with like three color, like a cheek palette, or like 3 colors of highlighter, yes. And then it's like 6 months later, it's like another lipstick and like a little bit of glitter. So it's just sort of this little thing here and there that drops as like an addendum to Trixie's overall brand. And super fanatics, fans of her, will like buy up the stuff, but it's just like a kind of merch, you know what I mean? And I think that when Kimchi launched kimchi makeup, I thought, and I think we all kind of thought, that that's what it was going to be, that it was basically just going to be kimchi merch in makeup form, and that you'd either like be into it or not. I think Kimchi, it's transpiring, had plans to really launch a makeup brand and continue to release new stuff all the time, the way that big brands do, and to like build a reputation and build a big collection and worm her way into this sort of like makeup sphere as a legit beefy brand, and maybe even eventually kind of like a heavyweight. So it's starting to, I feel like the scale's starting to tip a little bit, where we're looking at kimchi makeup like almost every week or every other week and being like, oh, like this is interesting. I know that some of my friends are starting to like buy the makeup and try the makeup. I know that for Teresa, it didn't go well, kimchi makeup after Face Up. And we were talking on Marco Polo about it, and she was saying like she doesn't want to put it on her face anymore because it reacted badly with her. And I also know that Lacey has tried the highlighter that just came out, which is one of the things that really caused me to stand up and take notice, because I do not need a thing like this, but ooh, it's pretty. And I just want it. I want it with that like magpie desire, because I just want to touch it and swipe it. And these swatches in this picture and the shape of the pan and the texture on the surface of the pan makes me want to wear highlighters like this, which is just so funny because I've had highlighters like this in my day, and I've pretty much, I think, decluttered them all. I think I had that Nikki Tutorials Ofra collab highlight that was kind of like this, Space Baby or something. That was somebody, I think Lauren decluttered it and gave it to me, and I didn't keep it for very long because I just don't wear these like icy blue highlighters. But this kimchi highlight really kind of captures my imagination, and the bronzers look very beautiful, and this heart-shaped packaging looks good. It's just, she's just like charging ahead, not paying any mind to what other people kind of perceived her as doing, and just like building this really serious brand. And it seems like it is, I mean, I follow kimchi in that I like love kimchi and I watch her on YouTube, and I do, you know, I keep up with her because I really love drag queens and she's a drag queen that I really love. But I haven't followed closely enough to have like heard her talk about her makeup line a lot, or to know exactly what she has been doing all of this time. But it seems like she's putting a lot of her energy and focus, if not all of it, and investment into this. It's like what she really, really wants to do. And so I feel like when it first came out, I was like, oh, follow a future career with great interest. And then I was kind of like, well, mama, I don't really care that much. And for some reason this week, I'm suddenly like, oh, I have a renewed interest in the future career of kimchi makeup. I am talking about this Kaleidos highlighter back to back with the kimchi highlighter because I have the same stupid feelings about it. These two insane iridescent, like space fairy cheeks, that is the kind of thing that I love to appreciate from afar, but don't usually have the desire to wear myself. Both of them are making me want them. Like this one is called Prophecy. It's like being released by itself. It's a really exciting multi-shift. It shifts like green and orange, really sparkly, gleamy for the cheeks thing from Kaleidos. And I have the same feelings about it that I had about the kimchi one. I'm just like, why do I want this so much? And yet I do. But I know that the answer for me is to dig into what I have. I'm sure that I have something that could give an effect like this, even if it's just an eyeshadow that I kind of sheer out and buff out. And I probably just need to wear something like this once or twice and get it out of my system, and then I'll probably go back to not feeling like it's quite my jam, and I can do that without buying one of these two highlighters. ColourPop, The Child, cute. I like The Mandalorian. We like it. We're watching it. We're watching the second season right now, and I think that they did a particularly good job with that show. This was a very, very smart collab for ColourPop because, you know, people are like full-on obsessed with Baby Yoda. And I kind of know why. It's like we're watching the show and it's just like every shot of Baby Yoda. Every shot. Joe and I are like elbowing each other and we're like, look at Baby Yoda. Look how cute Baby Yoda is. And then it's like, you know, Mandalorian, plot, plot, plot. And then there's like a shot of Baby Yoda and we're like, did you see that? We're like both watching and both like, did you see Baby Yoda? Baby Yoda's so cute. And then it's like sand people, monster, you know, space, and then it's like a shot of Baby Yoda and we're like Baby Yoda. So I get it. Like, I mean, we're not then turning around being like, we must buy every t-shirt and sock and makeup palette that has the face of Baby Yoda on it. No, we're not doing that. That's just to say that you can feel that deep appreciation for how well they executed this character without buying stuff that's related to it. But a lot of people do want to buy makeup related to it. So obviously they were going to do it if they could. The reason I threw it in here is just that I wanted to say that I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty, whether it's Baby Yoda or not. I don't think they would have ever made a palette like this with that kind of unusual soft teal in the center, that soft matte teal, paired with more green toned greens, like less blue greens, and then these silvers and golds. I don't think they would have ever come up with a color story like this if it weren't inspired by something like an intellectual property, because it's very unusual. It's a really original palette. And so I like that they were led by the property to create this innovative color story. I think it's very fresh just as a palette, and I like to see that. Ugh. The opposite, the entire opposite of something being fresh as a palette is the Huda Beauty Naughty palette. It's interesting because they're like really trying hard to make it feel fresh and new with these like jelly texture balls and like swirled ice cream palette shadows and stuff. I mean, they were like really trying. It's funny. I feel like with the ColourPop, it's in disguise as like a Baby Yoda palette. So it's in disguise as being like this thing that we do all the time, which is collaborating with an intellectual property. And then the palette that you actually get is really innovative in terms of this color story, really original. And this one is in disguise as being really innovative and original because it's like jelly, swirled, naughty, bad, weird, different. It's in disguise as that. But then what you're actually getting is the same palette that Huda Beauty has released like 10 times. I mean, it's just the same. It's so the same. It's mind-boggling to me that she just releases the exact same thing again. All right, brief touch on Jitterbug Beetlejuice. Beetle. The Melt Cosmetics Beetlejuice collection. It's fine. I mean, a Beetlejuice is cool. Like, it's cool. And these are fine. I'm not like a Melt. I'm not passionate about Melt, and I'm not buying really anything right now. Anyway, I think they did a fine job. Like, I think it's good that they did 2 different palettes. It's kind of like people with different tastes and color, and who would maybe be looking for different things from the collection. Like, if someone knows Beetlejuice and they know there's going to be a palette, they might be like, oh, I can't wait to use those greens and purples, or they might be like, oh, I can't wait to use those blacks and whites and reds, you know? So it's good that they kind of like served both and didn't try to put it all together into one big palette, because I think that that could have been really unwieldy. I think that this was a better choice. So there are a lot of ways in which they did a good job. But why are there 8 shadows in one palette and 10 in the other, but the palettes are the same size? Why is it like that? I feel like it's not okay. And finally, we're wrapping it up with another ColourPop release, the dark florals. And isn't it beautiful? I mean, I love a dark floral, let me tell you. Like, dark floral, probably my #1 type of print. So I'm really into this. I really am into this. But as with everything, I'm into it in the abstract, right? I think you can be like, I really love dark florals. And honestly, I actually really love 2 out of the 3 color stories. I feel like the one with like the peach and the red and the yellow, that, come on. So it's like very Yes Please palette, very Natasha Denona Sunset palette, like we're over it. But the other 2, the one that's sort of like dark and smoky, like a dark purple orchid, love it. And yeah, that makes me want to like build my own palette duping that out. Maybe I should do some more duping the vibes. I feel like we're overdue for some duping the vibes. And maybe that would inspire me to start wearing like more eyeshadow again, because I've so not been on that train. And I like the other one too. The other one's a little bit more boring. Like the darker one, the dark purple smoky one, the Baroque. That's fresh feeling a little bit to me. That's cool. And it does feel kind of wintry and exciting. And I love seeing this dark florals collection released in the fall going into winter. I love that. Love everything about it. If I were on the ColourPop team, if I was like over at ColourPop coming up with ideas, I would be particularly proud of this one. I just think it's really, really special, beautiful, and I love the packaging, and yeah, the colors are great. Even these blushes are really pretty, like these very pale. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that they had come out with this extremely pale peach blush. Hold on. Yeah, this one, it's called, is it Chaise? Is it pronounced Chaise as in like chaise longue? Or Chaise. How are people saying this on YouTube? I feel like nobody's gonna be saying it right on YouTube. It's just really, really pale, kind of like a really pale luminous peach. That's kind of an unusual blush color to come across, and it's very attractive to me. It's a good thing this isn't a cream blush, or they would really have me over a barrel. But because it's not, they don't, and that is it. That is the end of this video. New makeup releases and all my feelings about them. I feel like I did okay. It was like a little bit more concise than usual without having to go down to my anti-hauling everything in 10 words or less strategy. I hope it was enough for you. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you're thinking of all this stuff in the comment section down below. Is there anything that you are gonna buy, anything you wanna buy but you're not gonna buy? What are you attracted to but not going to buy? And then what are you using instead from your own collection? Do you want to see me dupe the vibes of anything that's on the market right now or coming soon? If you do, let me know and I'll try to schedule some of those videos soon. Thanks again for being here, and don't forget to take extra good care of yourself this week so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.